Hey guys, it's Melissa, and tonight I really want to talk about how much of Instagram and social media is really real. But before we get started, I wanted to share with you guys, if you haven't seen my taupe tote, and this new pattern just launched this week, and you guys, I love it so much. And I know we're on the topic of talking about how much is real and being authentic and social media and how we portray ourselves. So just gonna be super honest with you guys. If you see pictures of this tote bag that I've been posting, at one point while I was shooting those pictures, I actually spilled a latte all over this tote bag. So I'll actually share that in my post tonight, and you guys can see just how awful that was. But fortunately, this yarn is ZZ Twist by Lion Brand, which is 100% acrylic. And I washed it right away with dish soap because that was all I had. And I soaked it, I washed it in a kitchen sink, and it washed up beautifully. So you can't even tell. And I actually spilled the latte like on the white part, which, yeah, you honestly can't even see it at all. Okay, you can see it a tiny bit right there. I think I didn't rinse it out right there. But like it literally, the entire thing was soaked in latte and we're good to go. So anyway, just wanted to share that. Just gonna keep it real right here from the get-go. But one of the most important things I want to keep in mind as we talk tonight, and anytime I chat here on Instagram Live, is everything I say is really my personal experience and my opinion. Yours or someone else's may be completely different, and I would love for you to chime in with your thoughts and your feedback, and let's just start a conversation about this, because I think it's one of those that is worth having, just about how we experience social media, what we take for face value, and really as content creators, I guess, how we put ourselves out there and how we can be curated and beautiful and inspiring, but at the same time keep it really real, because I think that's really important. So as we get started here, I'm gonna sit cross-legged until my legs fall asleep. But this all kind of started actually with a conversation with my mom. And I was just talking to her earlier today, and I was like, Mom, I hope you don't mind. I'm gonna reference that conversation we had. And she was like, oh no, I'd love for you to dig into this topic. I'd love to hear about it. So I'm sure my mom will join in at some point in the comments. Mom, if you're already on here, say hey, because I didn't see it if you said hi. And hi to everyone joining in. I hope you guys are having the most amazing night and day and Wednesday and all those things. So anyway, I was talking with my mom, and my mom just started an Instagram. Her Instagram is called Country Road Crafter, and I think she just hit like 100 followers. She's super excited. She does knitting and rug hooking and wool applique and just a lot of different fiber arts than what I do, which is mainly just crochet. And we were talking about Instagram, and my mom said, she was like, well, Melissa, it's all a game. You have to admit that, Melissa, it's all a game. And I paused and I said, you know what, Mom, it is all a game. But that doesn't mean that I'm not being genuine or real or authentic, because to me, a game takes strategy, right? You're playing with a purpose. You're playing to achieve a certain goal. But at the same time, you can still be real and authentic in doing that. And I told my mom, I said, yeah, I can see what you're saying. I definitely think it's a game. But at the same time, there's a difference between playing the game of Instagram and playing games with people. And I'll share with you what I mean by that. And the best example that comes to mind, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do this, but one of the things that really feels like playing games with people to me is if you overuse giveaways or discounts to the point where it's like, well, you're clearly just doing it to like get something from people, or like you're playing games with people. When people do it in a way that's like celebrating a milestone or a fun anniversary or like their birthday or something like that, I think it's super fun. But sometimes, and I hope that you guys can think of examples too, I can't think of something specific, but there's times where some of those things start to be like playing games with people versus just playing the game of Instagram, if that makes sense. And I think it'll make more sense as we chat here. But I wanted to make that very clear, because I think some of the things I think of when I think about playing the game of Instagram are things like posting every day, having a curated feed where all of your pictures go together and they look beautiful and consistent together. I think trying to post to my stories every day. That's obviously an intentional decision I'm making because I think it's important for my account and to engage with people and create relationships with people. But at the same time, every single picture is a picture that I genuinely love and I'm either in or I took. Yes, they're planned in advance, but I hope that people know, and this is kind of what I also want to talk about. I hope that people understand what they're seeing is like 10% of my life. You're only seeing like yarn Melissa. Sometimes I don't even crochet every day. Actually, I probably only, like this summer, I probably only crochet like 3 or 4 days out of the week. Whereas other times in the past, I've crocheted like at least an hour or 2 hours every day. So with things like that, I just hope people don't take them as like 100% face value, because if you looked at my Instagram, you would think that I am bubbly all the time. I think if you saw my stories, I try and be really positive. And you would probably also think that I crochet every day or all day every day. You may not know that I have a family or a job. And I just think it's really important to recognize when you're seeing anything online, there's so much more happening behind it. It could be spilling a latte on your tote bag right before, right after you take a picture and having to Photoshop it later, which just happened to me. Or it could be having a really bad day and choosing to show up positively anyway. It could be a number of things. It could be like, sometimes you see a picture of mine and it might be like right now, you might see my living room right here. It looks clean, it looks cute, whatever. But like literally to my left, I have like a bunch of like laundry to put away that's folded on my couch. I have like yarn at my feet because I was just crocheting, or actually I was just knitting. I was just knitting before I started this video. Yeah, like I'm showing you one segment of my life. And I think that's actually a really good example. Like what you're seeing in my house right now is a good reflection of like what I show on Instagram. You're seeing like this segment of my house. You're not seeing if I made my bed today. You're not seeing if like all our dishes are in the dishwasher because I left one on the counter this morning. Like you're not seeing any of that. It doesn't mean that this isn't real. It just isn't like the full story. Sorry I missed some of your guys' comments. I want to make sure we are like chatting throughout this. So Instagram's algorithm, learning how to post right is one thing, but messing with your audience and bribing them is not okay, in my opinion. That is 100% exactly what I was trying to say. So thank you for articulating that so perfectly, because yes, there's a strategy, but it's not manipulating people. Okay. So I wrote down a couple points. I haven't done an Instagram live with like speaking points in a while, but I really wanted to make sure that I didn't mess anything up, because there was another example I wanted to share with you that, again, I was talking to my mom earlier today and I told her the topic I was going to do tonight, and she was like, oh yeah, it totally reminds me of this time. So I'm going to tell you about this time now. This was just like a month ago, and I went to the Art Maker Life in Chicago. It was a big event, if you haven't heard of it, where just like a big maker event. I think there was probably like 100 to 150 people there. Just like a really, really fun day. Got to meet all kinds of makers, got to hear from speakers, got to hear from brands, got to hear about yarn. It was one of the best days of my entire maker life, like probably the highlight. It's like equivalent to like my wedding day, but just in like the maker world, if that makes sense. Really like the peak, the thing that I was always looking forward to. And okay, I'm gonna finish this story, and I promise, I see all your amazing comments popping up. I promise I wanna read every single one. So I went to Art Maker Life. It was an amazing day. I was with my mom, and afterwards, my mom and I went back to the hotel room where we were staying. We Ubered back, and at this point, I think we had left the hotel at like, I don't remember what time in the morning, but it started around 9. So, I mean, we were up probably around 6, left around 8, got there by 9, and spent all day at this event. I think it ended around like 4 or something. So got back to the hotel probably around like 5. These times are approximate, but they don't really matter. And I remember I was just like, oh my gosh, I was so tired. And I'm pretty much an introvert for the most part. So I was just exhausted. Like, it was the best day ever, but I was just like, wow, like I need to lay down for a minute. And I love taking power naps. I'm a huge advocate for a 17-minute power nap, and it has to be like 17 minutes. Otherwise, I get like too groggy, but that just like picks me right up. So I laid down in the hotel bed. I was like, Mom, I just need to take a nap. Like, I promise I'll get up in 17 minutes, but like I just before we go get dinner, like I need to just recharge for a minute. So I take my 17-minute nap, and then I just, come to, and I open my eyes, and my mom was like organizing all of her swag. She just is like a go, 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 go type of person. So she's organizing all of her swag, and she's like repacking her bags for like heading out the next day or whatever. And she's just like organizing and doing all this stuff. And I'm just laying there. And my mom's like, are you like gonna get up soon? And I was like, like, when you're really sleepy when you wake up, that's how I was. So I'm like, okay, yeah, okay, just like give me a minute. I want to record my stories and tell everyone how amazing our Maker Life was. And my mom's like, all right, whatever, just like, let's get moving here. I want to go get dinner. So I'm laying in bed, just so tired. And then I pop up and I go over to the window, because anytime I'm on Instagram, like stories or live, I'm always at a window. So I have like natural light coming on me. And if you guys have ever seen me do a story in person, it's a rare thing people see. I feel like it's really embarrassing. Sometimes I have to record things several times before I like say what I wanted to say the way I wanted to say it. So I pop up, I grab my phone, and I'm like, the way I always say, if you guys see my stories, I always say like, hey guys. And so I go from like half asleep to being like, hey guys, I just had the best time at our Maker Life. Like, it was so great. I can't wait to share more. You want to see some of my swag? And then I like showed you guys a little bit of my swag, which I had kind of laid out on the hotel bed. And my mom was just like, what? She's like, you were just half asleep and now you're like bouncing around recording to your Instagram. Like, what just happened? Like, and I'm like, well, I needed to recharge for a minute. I was really excited and I want to share this with people. And yeah, I'm tired, but my thought process is, if you're going to show up and you're going to take the time to record something, and potentially all your followers or however many thousand or 100 people are going to see it, make it good. Like, make it count. Try and make it worth watching. Like, say something that they'll enjoy, something that will be positive. So for me, it's like choosing the way that I want to show up. And I always want to show up in a positive way, no matter what kind of day I'm having. And sometimes showing up in a positive way doesn't mean you're peppy and excited, but sometimes it means that you're being real and you're saying like something that's meaningful and then could help someone else. So I think there's like different ways. It doesn't necessarily mean you're like all the time, but it could mean that you're just being like real and saying something that's really important or heartfelt. But that was kind of one of those situations where it's like, yes, I'm showing people this really positive, happy person, and I am feeling that because I just had the best day ever. But at the same time, I'm also really exhausted and worn out. And the nap did help. The naps always help me. And then we went and got dinner after that, which was really nice. But I wish people could see like everything sometimes. And I try and do my best, especially in like my captions and my posts and stuff, to be real and be authentic. But sometimes I just want to remind people, I guess that's really what this is all about tonight, is just kind of like reminding people that yes, you might see someone and they look really happy and they look really excited. But like they could be having a really rough day, or you don't necessarily know what they're going through. I have found the one thing I've learned in life, and especially in the past couple years, is that you never know what someone is going through. You never know. And they could be one of the most positive people in the entire world. They could be the hardest worker you know, and they could have like really serious issues going on that they've become an expert at hiding. And I think more of us do that than we think. So no matter what people are actually showing you online, just be mindful that there's always so much more going on behind the scenes, and it's up to them if they want to share that, because I don't think they have to, and how they share it and when they share it, because sometimes it's a lot easier to share something after you've gone through it than when you're like in the midst of that storm. It's a lot easier to say like, hey, like I went through some bleep, and then share how you got through it, versus in the moment when it's really difficult. I think it's a lot easier to share once you get through that. And everyone's going through something, no matter what you show online. You just really never know. Okay, that was the quick story I wanted to share, because I just was laughing when I was talking to my mom about recording those Instagram stories, and she was just like, she actually, when I talked to her about it today, my mom was like, I can actually like appreciate and see more of like how you do what you do, and like she likes to watch my stories that I record every morning, which is so sweet. She's just like the best mom. But I think it gave her a different understanding and a different perspective of the way that I'm showing up online. And maybe it's similar for other people, maybe it's not, but it's just different. And just understand that you're never going to see 100% of someone online. Even if they had like a reality show, you still wouldn't see 100% of their life. You're always going to see some type of edited version. I really want to catch up on comments, because I just saw them all popping up, and I just didn't want to lose my train of thought. So let me scroll up here, and I hope I can find the right spot. Okay, I think Amen to that. I work like 70 hours a week, and then I'm only crocheting sometimes, but people think I do it all the time. I 100% agree with that. If you saw my Instagram, you would think I crocheted all day, every day. And the reality is, most days I go to work all day, I come home and I will run and I eat. And then most of my woods and wool type of work, I would say, is on the computer. Honestly, I can't tell you how much of it is on the computer. Sometimes I miss days that I just get to crochet. And even when I'm crocheting, it's not the same crocheting as like when I used to before this all started, because it's not mindless. Like I'm designing, I'm making notes, I'm frogging, I'm doing math. It's like a whole different mindset where my brain is like on and I'm challenging myself. And I think that's actually why I'm enjoying knitting way more than I expected, because I'm not thinking when I'm knitting. I'm just like, look at me doing the garter stitch again. Like, it's all I know. I have nothing else to think about. It's so repetitive to me because I don't know anything else. Whereas with crochet, I'm just constantly, my brain is just like going, challenging myself. Or I'm editing pictures, or I'm blogging, or I'm sending emails. So it's always like going, and that's really probably not what you would see if you looked at my Instagram. Just at like my feed, you'd be like, oh, okay, cool. She like walks around with like a tote bag and crochets a lot. I'm so glad you're touching on this topic. I've had a rough couple of months, and I don't really share that side on Instagram. Definitely need to hear this. I agree with you 110%. At the beginning of this summer, I used to do a full-blown topic and blog post on my Instagram every single week on Instagram Live. And for some reason, I feel like I don't know if I knew what I was like. I don't know. For some reason, something in me told myself like I need to slow down and I need to do maybe like chatty videos and less blog posts, just because I felt like I was approaching like burnout kind of. And in hindsight, I am so glad that I decided to do that, because the past couple months for me too, I feel like have been really like rough at times. And again, that's something I just alluded on to that like a little bit ago of like, I think it's easier to share things once you're through it. And so in those moments, it's just good to like put your head down, figure out like what you need to do, and take the action that you need to do what's best for you. And for me, that was like slowing down a little bit on Instagram. I don't post every day anymore. Just being a lot more forgiving with myself and figuring out like what I need to do for myself to feel my best and have my best life and balance all the things, all the amazing things I have going on. I totally understand you when you know someone in real life versus social media. It's so true. I don't crochet every day because like you said, I have a 9 to 5 and other responsibilities. Yeah. And sometimes I feel a little bit like a fraud because, again, I try and be really positive and have good energy on Instagram, but I feel like in real life, I'm like a super mellow person. Sometimes I'm chatty if I'm really excited, but for the most part, I'm just like, I feel really mellow, like very just like, hey, how's it going? I'm not really like, hi guys, the way I am online sometimes, I think. If you ever come to a Sip and Stitch here in Detroit, I feel like I always wonder if people think I'm different in person. And even those, again, I love them and they bring out a lot of energy in me, but then usually like afterwards, I'm very tired. Even after Instagram Lives, I'm usually really tired and I kind of crash a little bit. True what you say, some might want to see us working all the time, but we all have to be present in the day-to-day. Yes, 100%. A lot of people get the zoomed in version of a lot of us, but the bigger picture is what created that zoomed in photo, and that's important too. Yes. And I really find that for me, I like to do my Instagram posts in the evening because I sit down on the couch and I literally just zone in, and I almost feel like it's like writing in a diary for me, where I'm just like rolling through my thoughts and like my emotions and whatever's on my heart and figuring out how I'm gonna say that. And it's like a very therapeutic thing for me to get those things like off my chest. And so sometimes like you may not see it in a picture or my stories or my feed, but I feel like my captions are usually where I feel most comfortable, like putting it all out there. I think for me, that's just like my safe space that I can just like hide behind my keyboard and just like say what I'm really feeling or what I'm really thinking. And sometimes I worry, I'm like, was that too much? Was that too sappy? Was that, I don't know. And then I just hit post and it's gone. And then there we are. I try and stay zoomed out on the story and zoomed in on my grid. That's a really great way to think about it. I love showing behind the scenes of my stories. I think Instagram stories are just like the best thing that's happened to Instagram. Wow, yes, I totally relate. I love people, but it exhausts me. Yes, and Anna, I know we have the same exact Myers-Briggs personality types, I think, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I swear we talked about this. Or it was really close because I'm an INFJ. If you guys have never taken it, go to 16personalities.com. I like make all my coworkers do this. I made my family do this. I love the Myers-Briggs and doing your personality type. It's so insightful. It tells you like so many things about yourself and you're like, yes, that's exactly how I am. It's so great. I'm introverted as well, and we need these naps at alone time to recharge ourselves. Yes, 100% agree. Preach, girl. Oh, thanks, Tony. I'm trying to get better with consistency, but sometimes I'm just mega tired and reuse something I've already posted. You know what? I actually want to start doing that because when I think about my following and things a year ago, I mean, there's literally thousands of people that never saw those pictures, so I could easily repost them and it would be brand new to most of my audience. And there's actually something, if you guys have been around here like since the beginning of Woods and Wool, which is quite a while ago, one of the very first things I ever posted was my signature cowl, and I always said that I would never publish that pattern. And now that I'm not selling physical products anymore, I'm like, this is my favorite design I've ever made, and I need to publish the pattern. So I really want to publish the pattern, but I was debating, I was like, do I even need to take new pictures or can I use these pictures because most people wouldn't have seen it before? So yeah. And again, that's something where like when we talk about being real and stuff, I don't know if everyone would know that that's a picture I took over a year ago. Because it's just, I have like pictures of like me from like here to here with like the cowl on and like, I mean, I don't think it's super relevant that people know like, hey, by the way, I took this over a year ago, but I would just hope that people think like, that's not me today, and I'm not cranking out these cowls right and left. I just happen to have like pictures of like them in like a dozen colors because I used to sell these on Etsy. You know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like Jenna Kutcher is the queen of keeping it real in her stories. Yes, she is. I love Jenna Kutcher. She's one of my favorite like entrepreneurs to follow. And her podcast, the best. Always positive, but so very natural and real. She is goals. She is. And I love what you said about her being always positive, but still real at the same time, because there's a saying and it's like, turn your mess into a message. And even if like, let's say like I told you guys, like over here to like this section of my living room, there's like some laundry to put away and like fur pom-poms and like knitting needle, whatever. There's stuff like all over my couch right there. And I could go, like, let's say I was going to share that. I could hop on my stories and I could say, ugh, like, look at this mess. My house is disgusting. I can't believe, like, I should have picked this up. Like, this is gross. Or I could say, hey, does anyone else ever get super busy? Because life has been crazy lately, and this laundry's been sitting here for 3 days and I still haven't put this away. Just so you guys know, like, you're not alone. My life gets busy and crazy, and I hope that you guys have a calm minute today to catch up too. Like, there's such a difference between just complaining about something and yet still being real, but keeping it positive and hopefully helpful and constructive for other people to hear. I don't think being real means like complaining or whining. And Jenna Kutcher is the epitome of being positive and real and raw all at the same time. Being real in my captions is my main goal. I want to make sure that I do that because anxiety is my battle, and I know others have that too. If I can be a strength to one person, it's worth being open. I couldn't agree with you more on that, and I think it's something I've seen a lot. I've kind of mentioned to you guys a little bit, I think, what I do for like a living, but one of the programs I run as part of my job is like a TED Talks type of program. It sounds really amazing, and it's even better than it sounds. But I get to meet a lot of people with a lot of really cool stories and different backgrounds and things. And I've met people who have overcome cancer, who have overcome decades of addiction. I've met people with a lot of different like mental illnesses and mental health issues. And that's something that I feel like it's becoming more and more popular and more talked about, like in society as a whole, not just on social media. And I think that is one of the most beneficial things for people to hear, because I don't know if you guys know this, but 1 in 5 people has anxiety, which is one of the most common mental health, I don't want to say disorders, maybe that's the right word, but that's actually one of the most common ones, and 1 in 5 people experience that. So to different degrees, I'm not saying 1 in 5 people has like severe anxiety or anything like that, but when you talk about things like that, I think that's one of the most beneficial things to start conversations about, because so many people experience it and it can be a really big struggle. So yeah, I'm not gonna like dive too far into that. We'll talk about it sometime, but that is so worth being open about. And if it's your captions, your stories, an Instagram live, a blog post, any of that, it's all really good to get that out there, and just a really great topic to make sure that we're keeping that conversation going always. I really appreciate when people share the human stuff, like being tired or grumpy, because it's something to be able to relate / share that experience. Absolutely. I also love, especially since we're makers and we do a lot of like knit and crochet, I also love seeing like my maker friend Edward from SOS Knitting Company. We were comparing failures a couple weeks ago, and we were comparing like our notebooks of designs, and we have like pages and pages and pages of notes and designs and patterns written out that like didn't work out, that we would just like scratch out or like just have to start over. And he is such an amazing knitwear designer, and it was just so great to compare notes and be like, wow, so every pattern we've had, there's like 4 or 5 major failures before we actually make it work and make it successful. So it can be stuff like that. It can be anything, but really just seeing like as much of the full picture as you can, I think is so helpful. Learning knitting is my jam. Nifty Knittings is teaching me, and it's so much different than crochet. Yes, I just learned how to knit, and it's pretty great. It's not crochet though. Crochet will always be bae for me, but knitting, I like it a lot more than I expected. Your positivity in your stories helps me shift my attitude when I'm having a bad day. Happiness is contagious and appreciative. Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes I can change my own mood, because if I'm feeling really tired or cranky and then I'm like, you know what, Melissa, we're going to record 2 stories right now and make it positive. By the time I'm done, I actually feel better, because I'm like putting something good out into the world, I hope. And so it makes me feel like, I don't know, like I've done something. It just puts me in a better mood. I don't know. I started to separate my hobby / relaxing crochet and the things I crochet for work. Really needed to make separation of those 2 parts. So for now, my hobby crochet is on late nights and others. Oh, and on others patterns, just crochet, no design. Yes, I actually made Tony of TL Yarn Crafts. I made her flat iron shawl earlier this year, and I rarely make things from other people's patterns anymore, just because I try and like design stuff of my own. And I wanted to make Tony's because I loved her shawl, and it really became like a best friend to me, because I took the project everywhere and I didn't have to think about it. I just like did it, and it was mindless, and I never had to think once, because she wrote the whole pattern and designed it all and did all the work for me. So it was just like such an enjoyable, different style of crocheting than what I normally do. And then my Pebble Cardi was the opposite, because that was a huge challenge for me. I'd never designed a cardigan before, and it took me like 6 months of like picking it up and putting it down and starting over and restarting and doing math, and like the two projects were polar opposites, but I had the same 2 projects going for a lot of the time, and it was really nice to be able to switch like back and forth, because the flat iron shawl was like a big confidence booster for me, and then the Pebble Cardi was like a challenge where I was just like, you can do it, and then I ended up, you know, doing it. Hashtag carefree Graham. See, that's my thing though. Like, I don't even think I could be like a carefree Instagrammer. Like, I love having plans and I love strategy. I'm 2 hours from Detroit. Oh my gosh, you should totally come up here or come down here. You're in the mitten. So I'm assuming maybe you're north. I don't know. You should message me. If you're ever in the area though, seriously message me. I'm an introvert too, and socializing is tiring. It is so tiring. I love it, but like it's exhausting. Half the time my stories are my cats or nonsense anyway. I like to keep it not too businessy because it keeps it real. Yes, absolutely. The site for the personalities test is 16, like the number 16, 16personalities.com. I want to do it. Please send the site. Yes, 16personalities.com. Mom, I would love to know your personality type. My husband, Austin, I'm an INFJ, and he's an ENFP. Yeah. So like our middle letters are the same. But like I'm an introvert, which is what the I stands for, and he's an extrovert, which is what the E stands for. So every letter means something different. It like breaks it all down for you. It's literally one of my favorite pastimes. It's like personality tests like that. But it's really, really cool, because when you see yourself, it just gives you a greater understanding of yourself, and then like finding out the personality types of people close to you, it really like explains them and explains your relationship, explains like why you're different, like who you might mesh the best with. It's fascinating. Oh, another INFJ. You know, INFJs are the rarest personality type. INSJ. Okay, we're really close. My job requires that I deal with people all the time. Some days I come home and go straight to bed, no crocheting, watching television, or anything. Recharging is a must for me. Yes. And finding things that make you happy to recharge. I think that's huge too. For me this summer, I've been into running for a few years, which I love, and that's like a recharge in itself. But I also have found like I really like walking. Which before I'd always be like, well, if I'm gonna go outside, like I wanna run. I wanna like, make it count and like get the most of my time in. And I'm like, I really like walking and talking with Austin. It's so great. I suffer from the disease myself, and I tend to pull back from others instead of opening up to new friendships. Yeah, it's really hard, and I think you just have to go easy on yourself and try and do your best to figure out yourself and what makes you happy and the way that you work, and then create like environments and relationships that bring out your best. The failures episode was the best, so real and truthful. Yes. I love seeing that. I'm just starting the pattern journey. I totally relate. Yes. So agree. It's impossible to be truly open without sometimes discussing something that has such an impact on our day-to-day like anxiety does. Yes. And like I said, I mean, whether or not it's something like that or something else, everyone is going through something. It might be big, it might be small, it might be temporary, it might be permanent, but everyone has something that they're working on or struggling with. So just keep that in mind and like try and be empathetic when you're dealing with people. I hope you start designing knitting patterns. I don't think I will, at least not for a really long time, because I want to keep it as something that's like just for fun and just like easy peasy. So I don't want to like ruin it for myself. Oh, you're from Midland. That's not too far. Plans and strategy running your family. That is the truth. We'll do it together this weekend. That's great. Okay. Oh man, I stepped away for a few minutes. I missed all the Myers-Briggs talk. Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. I love the introverts. People that get that. I'm like, yes, thank you so much for understanding. And you know what's funny? At our Maker Life, I found that a lot of people there were very introverted too. So we were all a little bit outside of our comfort zone, and it was really cool to connect with people that kind of like get it. If you like personality tests, you should look into the awesome book called The Book of Birthdays. I'm gonna write it down. I just finished, sorry, I can't write and talk at the same time. I just finished this book called Better Than Before, and it's by Gretchen Rubin, who wrote The Happiness Project. And it's all about habits and like your tendencies and the type of like, it's basically like all centered around habits, but there's like 4 pillars or 4 like types of people, and explaining like the way that you stay accountable and like meet expectations in your life, and whether it's like an external expectation like a deadline, or if it's like an internal expectation where you're like, I'm gonna do like a New Year's resolution. It explains all that. It's so interesting. It's kind of a dry book though. Like it took me quite a while to read because I could only read like 1 chapter at a time. Oh, it explains you based on your birthday and what you like and don't like, strengths, etc. Oh, is that like kind of like your zodiac kind of? Or no? Either way, I'm intrigued. My mom is an INFJ. Okay, she's my best friend. So I think that means we're best friends now too. Yay! I plan nothing. Even my designs don't start with a pattern in mind. Keeps it fun for me. I definitely don't plan my feed. Yeah, and I'm the polar opposite. I will overthink and plan everything, except my captions. I keep those like spur of the moment, and my stories. But anything else, like it's on a list, it's on a schedule, it's planned, it's broken down into steps. It's kind of how I operate. Oh my gosh, yes, you guys, all these introverts in here. I love it. Oh, I think I caught up on comments. Yes, great. Okay. Introverts Like Myself. Quiet by Susan Cain is all about how the world needs introverts to survive. Okay, write that down. I just bought like a novel to read instead of like a more like personal development book. And I really like switching between, let me write down her name, Susan Cain. I really like switching between like a development type of book and then switching back to like a novel. It's kind of like crochet projects, actually. I like something mindless and fun, and then something like challenging that makes me think. I have to go back and forth. Okay, I feel like there's a lot of introverted makers that kind of suits us. Okay, so lots of great tangents in this conversation. I originally just wanted to come on and really just break down like my main point of this. If you take one thing away from this video, it's just that remember that what you're seeing online isn't necessarily like 100% of someone's life. And it doesn't mean it's fake. It doesn't mean, well, if something sounds forced, if you ever see like a story or a caption or something that looks kind of forced, it probably is. The person might be being like paid for it. You never know. That's kind of part of the world of Instagram. So it is a game, like I mentioned. And all in all though, I like to think that people have good intentions, and I like to think that we're all being as real as we can and with what we're comfortable sharing. So I would encourage you guys to always keep it real too, whether that's in a caption or a story or sharing a personal experience or the behind the scenes of something. I think it's just really important to kind of constantly remind ourselves like, hey, there's more than what I'm seeing on someone's feed. And always remember that an Instagram feed is a highlight reel. It's just the highlights. It's like I'm just trying to think of, I think of like my wedding day where I see all the beautiful pictures, but you don't see all the stress that goes into wedding planning. You're just seeing those highlights. You start to forget all the behind the scenes and all the other things that go into it. So just keep that in mind. But also at the same time, like, be inspired, have fun, like appreciate people's content, appreciate the work they put in for it. Don't compare yourself to it. Just remember, it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be social. It's supposed to be a community. That's pretty much my point, I think. I don't think it's like zodiac signs because they can be super vague. The book of birthdays is very specific, and everyone I know matches their birthday so spot on. Okay, I'm gonna Google that. I think stuff like tailwind planning takes away authenticity and makes it harder on the smaller people that don't have those kinds of funds to compete. I would disagree because I think like Tailwind, for example, is like a paid service where you can plan your Pinterest, but Pinterest isn't really about like thoughts or feelings. It's more, I feel like, about project inspiration and like things to make and things to DIY and like style inspiration. But I think I could show you like two different pictures, like an iPhone picture of bad lighting, or I could show you a really great picture that I moved closer to the window and edited a little bit. And yeah, the one has a little bit more of a curated feel, and I might plan the day I post it, but I would rather have someone like stop and want to look at it and then have my caption be really heartfelt and honest. And I think that in itself is more authentic and inspiring and interesting than just like slapping something up on my feed that I didn't think twice about. So I think regardless of if you're planning and strategizing and curating or not, it's about your intention, right? So it's whether or not you're like putting thought into what you're doing and what your goal is when you're posting it. I think it can be authentic either way. Needed to hear all of this. Been feeling a little bit restricted by my feed, and it was holding me back from posting at all, trying to be more free and tell more stories, and already feeling better. Yeah, and I think all in all, like if you're someone who's really, like I'm very type A about my Instagram feed, and if you're like that, always use your stories. You can throw anything in your stories and then go away in 24 hours. Like stories are fair game for anything. And then like if you really want to post something, just post it. After our Maker Life, I posted like selfies to my feed, which I never do, ever. that's just not the Instagram feed that I've curated, and that's not like my personal style and aesthetic. Other people do it and it's fantastic, but for me, I was like, oh no, it's not gonna go with my feed. And then I was like, whatever, I really like it and it makes me happy, so I did it anyway. But I think it can be like just as intentional and real and authentic, as long as you're like putting your heart into it. Oh, don't get me wrong, I set up pics. I like how you plan your photos, but still save captions to do at the post. Pics, I understand need to step. Yeah, okay, exactly. I think we're totally on the same page, because you take the cutest pictures too. Like, I feel like yours are always styled, and there's something about that too, where it's like, if you want people to feel like, for instance, with the taupe tote, I wanted it to have a very modern, clean vibe. And normally my vibe is a little bit more like woodsy, but for me, I was like, I really want these pictures to be in downtown Detroit, and I want them to be very clean and crisp and urban looking. So there was a lot of like planning in my brain going of like what I was going to wear with the tote bag, where I wanted the pictures, kind of what else I wanted in the picture. So you'll see like a lot of like concrete and just like crisp, kind of neutral city type of background. And like that was because that was the intention and the aesthetic that I was going for. So it was very planned and thoughtful, just like your pictures. And then at the end of it, you hope that what you've curated gives people the feeling that you were hoping for. But when someone sees that, I just always want to make sure they know that it wasn't just like me casually walking down the street looking at my tote bag. Like, no, I totally staged that. But it's because I want to inspire people to make the tote bag, and I want them to feel like they can make anything, and it can be beautiful, and it can be modern, and it can be crisp and clean and urban and trendy. And that was my goal with that. So yeah, anyway, all my thoughts on Instagram, and if you guys have additional thoughts or follow-up feedback, or if you're like, Melissa, I think you were completely wrong, or if you're like, I totally get what you were saying, send me a message, send me a DM, especially if you're watching this on the replay, because I always like to see and hear what people think. And just if you appreciated this, it's really, really nice to hear that too. Those are probably my favorite messages I ever get in the world, is when someone's just like, hey, like, thanks for saying that. And I'm like, oh, okay. It makes me just want to like keep going and keep doing Instagram lives and like being as real as I can. Stage photos are what advertising is all about. Yes. Love this. Very intentional. Something I'm working on. It really showcased the bag so perfectly. You guys are so nice. I appreciate you. So there's nothing wrong with staging and keeping it real because you're advertising your new pattern. Yeah, absolutely. Love the taupe tote post. Thanks, Mom. And I promise you guys, tonight, you've seen a couple pictures of the taupe tote, and tonight, actually, this is a really good way if you're looking for ways to like mix in a little bit of authenticity in a way that you haven't before. Tonight, when I share my like pretty photo of my taupe tote, you'll see it, and it's a really cute picture. And then I'm going to do like a swipe so you can see the other picture. And the other picture is an iPhone picture that I took with the latte spilled all over it. So sometimes Instagram is just being real in those kind of like funny, candid ways where it's like, hey, like, look what this picture actually looked like. And other times it's like just being really raw and authentic and sharing like stories and other things that are going on. So you guys are just the sweetest. I appreciate you tuning in so much and hanging out with me tonight. And I will see you guys next Wednesday. And yeah, I can't tell you guys how much I always appreciate you tuning in. So I'll see you guys next week. And as always, if you have like comments, questions, DMs, anything, definitely message me, send me a DM anytime. A lot of my Instagram topics, like this one tonight, come from conversations or questions that I get. Like this one tonight kind of stemmed from a conversation I just had with my mom. So I just love getting out there, hearing from you guys, and yeah, excited to see what we talk about next. So I'll see you guys next Wednesday, same time, same place.